everybody. I'm not sure how many of you are going to end up wanting to watch this or if anyone even cares. But I figured I would make this little video vlog to kind of share my journey with the polyps on my vocal cords and the surgery and the recovery. And if it helps one other teacher in the process, then that would be awesome. Or maybe even just to raise awareness that this is an issue for teachers. And I really want to raise awareness for CI teachers and teachers of different languages because we use our vocal cords in a different way. So I'm going to just start at the beginning of my story with this. So pretty much back in February of 2019, almost forgot what the date was. It's the middle of August of 2019 right now. Back in about February or so of 2019, I started noticing I was losing my voice each day. And I had just switched in the fall of 2018 to teaching with comprehensible input full-time in all of my classes. So what that meant for me as a teacher is that I would be speaking in Spanish a lot more and more dramatic with my speaking, telling stories, yelling, acting things out, more engaging that way with my voice. And just to give you some background that now I know is important, I was never in theater when I was in school, and I was also never in choir, and so I never learned how to use my voice and project my voice appropriately. And that's probably what has had the biggest role in why I became hoarse. So I became hoarse starting in about February or so, and I was like, whatever, it's not a big deal. It would only be like at the end of the day or when I would try to say something really loudly. And then I ended up it was spring break, and over spring break my voice came back, and I was like, sweet, maybe it just needed to rest. Maybe I've just been overusing it and my voice is back to normal. But after about 2 weeks of getting back to school after spring break, I lost my voice again, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And I was upset because for me, one of the things that's important to me is worshiping through singing and through worship music. Now, I'm not a good singer, but every morning I like to pump my jams, I like to sing, I like to worship that way and start my day, and I couldn't sing anymore. The upper register of my voice is totally gone. And by the end of the school year, basically, I ended up with my voice so bad and not being able to talk and it being hard to talk. See, my throat never hurt, and it still doesn't hurt now. And it was just hard to talk. It was more exhausting to make the sounds and to use my voice how I had been before. And so by the end of the school year, it got so bad, my voice was so bad, and it was so bothersome to talk that I was actually typing out directions on the screen for my students. And so at the end of the school year, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to see if it gets better in summer like it did over spring break. And in the back of my mind, I was already thinking I might have something going on. I had heard about singers dealing with polyps on their vocal cords and having to have surgery and vocal rest and all these things. But I'd never heard about it for teachers. And so I was like, well, maybe it'll get better. Well, lo and behold, summer started and I wasn't teaching every day anymore. But my voice still didn't get back to normal. And I would notice after using it, maybe more than just I would in a normal day, it would get super hoarse faster and really, really bad. And so I finally decided in about July 15th to go into my normal doctor. So I went in to see her, shared with her about what had happened in the timeline and what had been going on. And she asked me about allergies, which I do have, and I do actually take 3 medications for, but those medications pretty much take care of the allergy problem. And then she also asked me about acid reflux, and I guess both of those things can cause a lot of wearing in your throat and can possibly cause a similar thing, but neither of those things are something that I was dealing with. She checked me out, and she said, well, I think I know what it is. Knowing your profession and your symptoms and everything, it's probably a possible polyp or polyps in your vocal cords, but you need to go see an ENT. So she recommended me to a couple of different ENTs, and I tried to get into one close to where I live, and I couldn't. And so I ended up seeing one that she recommended, was able to get in the following Monday. When I went in there, they ended up doing this scope thing. It's literally like a wet noodle, 8 to 10 inches long, has a little camera on the end of it. And so they squirted a decongestant and a numbing solution like up my nose and in the back of my throat, on both sides. And then he stuck this little scope up my nose and down my throat. And he had me make like different sounds and like go ah and make different things to make my vocal cords move in different ways. And on that, he was able to see the polyps. And then he showed me the video of my scope, and I could easily see the polyps. There's a big one on the right side, and there's a small one on the left side, although at this point I've used my voice a lot more since then, so might be two big ones now. But he said that they would need to remove, he said he would have recommended vocal rest, but since I basically already did that by not teaching anymore and being on summer break and it still didn't get better, that he felt that surgery was the option, especially because it's summer and before the school year started. And he did say that it is very common with teachers that they need to, that they end up with this issue and have to have this surgery. He said he would take the big polyp out, like basically cut it and just like excise that polyp and then let that heal. He said he wasn't sure about the small one. He said he'd have to wait and see until he gets in there. And he said that basically when the vocal cords heal, when the scar tissue heals, that it can cause the same problem as the polyps themselves. So sometimes they don't like to do the surgery unless it's necessary. And then after surgery, I'm going to need to be on complete vocal rest. He said about a week. I'm not really sure exactly how many days that really means. And then I will need to see a speech therapist to relearn how to use my voice the correct way. And then I will be needing to use a classroom amplification device. So basically a microphone and speakers in my classroom so that I don't need to overextend my voice. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm waiting to hear back officially when my surgery is scheduled for. Right now, they had me scheduled for this upcoming Wednesday, but apparently there's an issue with that. And so they're trying to schedule me, and I'm waiting to hear back to hopefully make this different. They're trying to schedule me for the Friday right before we start school on Monday. And that means that basically I would have to miss the first week of school, or if I went in, I wouldn't be able to talk, but I could be there in my classes. And so if you guys have any suggestions for plans I can start making or what I can start thinking of, I'm going to put this into a blog post and write down some more of my thoughts and kind of things that I've been brainstorming for my Spanish classes. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, and I will make another video entry as I know more. So hopefully this will be interesting to some of you, or at least maybe it'll be therapeutic for me.